A few weeks back, I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw that there were a series of like AI influencers, tech influencers that were talking about Lovable. Lovable isn't something that's like new. People have been talking about it for a little while, but what wasn't new was that they had offered, or people were talking about this like thing that was called Ship. So what is Shipped? I thought that it might be really useful to go and sign up for this just because it's something that I have no tech experience, which is something that has limited me in building out different things for TPP to go and test out for our users, and having something that at the time everyone was calling it no code or vibe coding. I thought maybe this would be really useful. This is Shipped. I had gone in and I found it really interesting. It's something that allows for you to have a structure, and you are going through the priorities every single week. They provided actually more than what it is that has been said here. So there's a lecture, there's like a topic that you need to go through every week. So last week, which was the first week, we went through validity. So that was really helpful because it reminded me a lot of things that we at TPP probably already knew about, and then I had just forgotten about it because I'm busy with other things. And so every single week is structured around the first lecture, which is hosted on Monday. And then there are fireside chats, there are check-ins, and there's a whole community that is within the platform. And so like I really wanted to go and learn from that. How do you go and build a community? And that was it. There are a whole series of things that I've learned. So far, I would say that what they call no code, or what I would think it means by having like no code, is not true. And partly why I say that, it's because this is based on like everything else in AI. There's like a token or a credit system that you're working within. And that means that you pay upfront how much you use. So it's not free, it's not unlimited. And every single time you get AI to do something, it's going to cost you. As a person who has zero tech background, it sort of means that I'm constantly trying to figure out how to go and fix something because I don't have the ability to, so then I'm asking AI to go and do it. So what do I mean by that? And how did I get started? I own something called the Practice Playbook, which is a place for artists to go and create their own playbook. What I mean by playbook is that it's a place for you to go and figure out how to structure your studio practice where it becomes sustainable. It gets you to a place where you're able to go and really understand the funding mechanisms for you to have a long-term career, that you're not waiting for a gallery to come and represent you, and that you're able to go and make ends meet. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that I teach in a business school, or actually I teach in multiple business schools. And these are communication tools that I certainly wasn't ever taught in art school. And I had to go and make sense of it when I was in business school in order for me to go and teach. I wanted to go and figure out a way, or a different way, to give information to users who are looking for it. And when I was saying that, it was really nice to go and have the first lecture on validity, is that it allowed for me to go back to things that we had already done in the 2 iterations of TPP. And I wanted to go and start off at a place where it's the most asked question on the internet. So it's like the most searched question on the internet, which is, how do I write an artist statement? And we go through that at TPP, and I understand that based on the feedback, that is top priority in terms of what people are looking for. And that's exactly where it is that I started off with. This is what Lovable looks like. If you are familiar with using AI, you can see that there's a place for you to just start typing. I think that my cookies were listening to me. And so therefore, all of a sudden, I got a whole bunch of stuff on my TikTok telling me like how to use Lovable in a way that is much more economical with the credits that you have. And so I started off with that, meaning that I there are a series of documents that they suggest for you to templatize to get started, which I had created that in ChatGPT, following sort of like the logic as to how do you build something out. And what's really interesting is that if you come from a background that is very logical, meaning that you're building a system of 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, it's actually like the sequence is actually really logical, like building a website. Like I need to have a landing page. The landing page needs to have, like about us, and then about us, contact us, and then like whatever else that you think is important to go and have. But about us is critical, and then being able to go and contact whoever is also critical. And I think it's like one of those things that you don't really think about until you kind of have to go and think about it. And so I had started off with building out this thing that's called a PRD, which is a product requirement document, like something like that. And as a person who's taught project management for years, and then also somebody who teaches design thinking, like I can understand that building that scope and then figuring out how everything links to each other. So you're effectively like building a project plan, but instead of having the plan and assigning people what to do and like the budget and the resources and whatever, you're sort of figuring out the sequence to how to go and make a whole bunch of pages just telling AI how to go and do it. My PDR looks like this. There's a lot of prompting that has been done. And you can see that on the left, that is what my product requirement documents of the PDR, that's what that looks like. So it's sort of just saying like certain things. Because I don't come from a technical background, and because at TPP, we have somebody who designs websites for us and do a lot of like the technical work. So I have a CTO and have a creative. I wireframe a lot of these things and magically it happens. And it's a lot of work, and I understand that on our team, but like it isn't really until now that I was like, oh, okay, like this is the logic that I sort of need to have as I progress. So what it is that I wanted to do is build out something that basically is like told to me by artists. Like I want something that is going to help me with my artist statement. As a trained artist, I can be writing, but what they sort of don't tell you in art school is like, who are you writing this for? What's the tone? And often like what ends up happening is that you're needing some sort of feedback, and then you'll just ask your friends who might not be applying to the same thing. They might not be doing what you do. They might not even be in the same market or stream that you're in, right? So now you're asking people to go and read a series of things that may or may not apply. And then what we're looking for is structure and flow, and whether the other person who's reading it has the capability of understanding how concise you are, the arc that you're providing, how is relevant to your practice with the other person's practice. And these are all things that like they never tell you really in art school. So that's actually what I wanted to go and create, because that is important in order for you to get this feedback. And also like the bias in having the same feedback from people. You only have so many friends. You only have so many friends who are going to go and read your artist statement. And then also, even if you read it, so like if you're like me, I kind of need to take a lot of time and space away from the statement that I've written in order for me to like reflect whether it even makes sense or not. So this is how I prompted it. And it goes through the sequence of, this is what I wanted to do. So the object and the purpose. There is a sort of reflection in where you are doing a self-assessment. So that's exactly what it says. You're going to go and do your self-assessment. There's a series of questions to go and do personality tests. Then there's a scoring system. And I think a lot of times like scoring system seems like, or you revert your brain back to, like quizzes when I'm in class. And like the number that I get is a reflection of how good of a student I am, or like how much I understood the topic. This is absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever. The scoring system here is really to go and place you based on how you have scored yourself. And why like I think it's really important to go and talk about this and like understand that this is part of your requirement is because having these types of self-assessment is really sort of allows you for that time and space when you're looking at this document that you're submitting. Okay, so there is the self-reflection, there's a whole series of questions, and then you have to go and set up a database. After that, the self-assessment has been completed, then you get emails, right? And these are all things that I certainly didn't know how to go and do. And somebody had been doing this for the last while. Okay, so there were a lot of iterations to go and get it to where it is now. And I feel like I was pretty lucky to go and have started off with this PDR anyway, because I don't know what it would be like if I didn't start off with a document like this. It would probably also be quite tricky if I didn't have a specific idea or like known what artists are looking for. Just again, like because of the iterations of TPP that I've already completed, knowing how artists are struggling, like the biggest pain points, and also because I'm trained as an artist. So I know what that looks like, and I also know what isn't really talked about openly. So that's sort of like how I got started in this. And then it sort of like tells you a whole bunch of stuff, and I don't really know, right? And I'm sure that in something like this, like this doesn't work. It's probably something that I can do on my own. Unfortunately, because I don't code, I didn't know how to go and fix this on my own. And I like at some given point realized that I was burning so much credit trying to figure out like how to go and do this and like having to go and connect this to another database to go and house like where the information is getting from, like, or going to. These were things that I couldn't understand. And I think I was really lucky to be able to understand like a series of things. And mainly that sort of rests on, I cannot even believe that I'm saying this, is because I write surveys as my method. I started writing surveys during my PhD, and I had to go and learn from this like gold standard platform called Qualtrics, which was so hard to understand because that is not how my brain works. And writing survey is also something really interesting because in order for you to be able to go and write surveys, you have to know what information you're asking and then have questions that aren't leading to get your user to give you that information to see whether what it is like valid or not. And because there's a whole series of like actual logic you have to create when you're writing question 1 to question 2 to question 3, that everything has to link with each other in the system. That actually is oddly something that I never would have thought is what actually like is my saving grace in understanding how things like this work. So let me show you what this looks like. Okay, so you click through this and then you will paste your artist statement. So your artist statement can be, I make site specific installations. I explore decay and memory. Blah. Okay, so that is not an artist statement, but we're gonna go with it. And then now this is where your self-assessment or reflection starts. How clearly does your statement convey your unique voice? Not really. How compelling is your opening line of me being, I make site-specific installations? Probably not very compelling. How well do I address my target audience? I don't think that I even considered what that is, so not really. Was there a narrative arc? Probably not. However, my language was so concise because there were only 2 sentences. And then how actionable? What is the person who's reading this at the very end, like understanding your artist statement, like what do you want? Do you want them to, like, do you want to have a chance to go and talk to them further? What is it that you're looking for? Okay, so like it's not actionable, okay? So the whole point is that this is what happens, okay? So I'm gonna just complete this. And you can see that it says that I got 11 out of 30, which means that I have an undefined voice, that my statement reads like it is a first draft. And if you heard that, that actually is my email that has just come through. Now you can see that I actually can get my feedback here. And this tells you like what is, and this is generally how I give feedback to my students, which is I want to have a general overview of what is working and then how to go and strengthen what it is that I have provided. For me, this is really important to be able to go and get something, because I can't tell you how many times I've written something. I think it makes sense, and the editing comes back. It's just like, this makes no sense. This makes no sense. You haven't actually said this anywhere else. And this is just a brand new thought that you brought in at the very end of your writing. You know, you can't do that. You haven't linked this back to the, and I think it's really important to have something that tells you this. And so that's what it is that I have created using Lovable for me to provide a tool that is giving instant feedback. And then also at the same time where it's actually sent over to me. So I'm actually reading your statement as well. It's taken me, I think it's funny when you are comparing yourself to other people. And in this like Lovable shipped thing, I don't really know what to call it, community, there are currently 3,700 people inside this community. And sometimes it's really nice to be able to see how other people are struggling with the exact same thing as me. Like Supabase, I don't even know what it is. I just think that it's like a platform that's like Excel, but much more intense, which makes me freak out on the inside, because I'm just like, how much more intense can it be? Because Excel's already super intense. And then there's a lot of things that have been noted that is exactly how I feel about Supabase, where they give you these warnings and I'm just like, do I need to do something with the warning? Am I not? Like, I don't really know what to do with this information right now. And so I don't. But what has been really nice is knowing that other people have other people have same queries as myself, and it doesn't make me feel like it's only me, because I so often, like when I'm writing my artist statement and I'm trying to get people to go and read it, am I just a bad writer, or am I just like naturally bad at communicating, or like there's so many things that makes communicating what it is that you're doing to the other person really, really tricky. And so now hopefully having a tool like this is really helpful. And then starting off again in thinking about what TPP is doing, and the sort of online education. You know, like I applied to Lovable really just because of this. It's very hard. There's a lot of me on the screen. I applied to Lovable specifically because I wanted to go and figure out exactly what this says here in the transcript. I wanted to figure out a new way to provide online education to creatives. And I think that AI has the mechanism to help with that. I think that, so I see this so often when people say education is really difficult because it tells you what, like you have to go and do things 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because we in education say that. It's not so much that we say that, it's more so that we're saying it has to be a certain way because it is how information gets relayed based on the resources that we have, meaning like the textbooks that we have to operate within. And so that naturally already dictates how we have to actually teach, because we have to follow the resources and then scaffold that. And that's actually so much beyond what the person who's instructing, that is beyond what it is that I can do, because there's a curriculum that I have to follow, and the curriculum has to follow what the university or level, meaning that like if you're a master's level, like you have to meet very specific criteria in order for you to complete that like level and move on in order for you to get the degree. So a lot of things are actually like beyond what it is that we can do. But what I find to be really exciting currently is that like AI and then sort of this type of professional development and tools that really help facilitate. I think that there's a really big gap between how information is discussed and then relayed that is based on how somebody teaches professionally. Because there's a very specific logic that you have to provide information in a way so people can see how it actually can implement it. And so often I can see that when industry professionals talk about it and they tell you like you do this, this, and this, and then they don't really give you the context that is very approachable to get started because either they've forgotten or that's not the logic of how you teach. And so I'm hoping that like based on building out this product and reorganizing the way that I'm approaching TPP, it really gives people a way in that's something that's really, really useful. I remember that the one and only class I ever had about professional development and what my career would look like if I wanted to go down the path of being a full-time artist. I had one class, and it was like either the last term when I was graduating or it was the term before that. And up to this point, like I've never calculated how to go and run my studio practice. Nobody talked to me about pricing. Artist statements, like, yes, we wrote artist statements, but like, I don't know who I'm writing it for. No one's ever explained to me the tone. No one's explained to me about a market that I'm supposed to be in, like none of these things. And I just remember like the feedback that I received from my statement was, well, how are you ever going to go and sell installations? Like, how are you going to price this? Who is this going to be for? And I just remember thinking like, I don't know, but like you never told me this. Like, how am I supposed to figure this out when you didn't ever tell me this information? And now you're talking to me like as if I was supposed to have known this all this time. When in fact, like, I think that you could have given me more information, or you thought that I was supposed to have gone to you to talk about this. And often what ends up happening is everyone's sort of responding to what it is that they're seeing. And currently how I'm building out this iteration of TPP is based on what I have been told by the cohorts, what they're looking for, and that what would be actually really helpful to continue on with their journey in figuring out how to have a long, sustainable studio practice. So that's it for trying to go and figure out how to go and do this low code. And why I actually call it low code is because in order to stop burning credits, I had to actually go in and stare at the coding to go and figure out where certain things exist. Like, I shouldn't have to waste a credit because the button needs to be named something else. Like, I know that in the line, insofar as I can find the freaking line, the button, I can actually change things. And so it's actually given me a lot of opportunity to figure out even really, 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 really an elementary coding and what that looks like. And again, like a lot of this logic is purely based on the fact that because I learned how to go and write surveys. And so there's a specific logic that I need to follow when I was building out my surveys that I learned this. And now that I've done this for like, well, I don't know, like 6-7 years, I know sort of a bare bones system that will get me to something quite minimal, which is all that I'm looking for. But this is my first step into starting this low code product that hopefully creatives and artists are going to find really helpful. If you do, can you just drop me a line below in the comment section to let me know like what else that you're looking for? And if you don't mind, maybe we actually can go and schedule a time to go and talk about your experience. I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.